Okay, let's transition to the sort of interaction between the executives and the team members that you're there to work with. Can you give us some examples of the common disconnects that you see between the two parties and maybe some different assumptions, maybe that don't reflect the reality on the ground?
Oh gosh, yes. I'm going to refer to some notes because I don't want to miss anything. The one thing is executives and billing teams, whether it's outsourced, in-house, across the street, or they're working remote, the executives are very physically separated from the billing team. So they can't really witness the day in, day out. The other thing is they are really quite clueless. They don't understand RCM. They don't understand the life cycle of a claim. All they know is this is how much we see go on the books. This is how much we see go in the bank, and something's not right. So they make assumptions. It's got to be the billing team, The other thing is they're only getting the information they have from the ones that run to them. And I hate to say it, but in every practice, there is, somebody that's been there 20 years. Actually, usually more than one. I'm amazed by the longevity of RCM people. I think it's in our nature to be dedicated and hardworking and loyal, so we don't leave. But they have been there for years. So the executives that they're close to, maybe even related to, only hear what that person is saying. That's very limited information. And, there's just not good exchange of information. Like, even if they wanted to, I've struggled with this as a consultant. I get all these reports pulled from the system and then try to make it understandable to a board of directors who know nothing about claims, processing, denials, what's getting chased down. They don't want to know. I can't take them there. I will lose them. So how do you do that? How do you even convey to them that there's not just this going wrong, or it's actually 3 other departments not doing what they need to do in order for me to do what I need to do? So just being able to communicate to that segment of the company in the way that everybody is on the same page, it's so difficult, even as a consultant.
Makes total sense. So tell me more about how you bridge the gap. Is it the way you frame stuff? Are you pulling data together, generating content? What's the best way to communicate these sort of complex topics, sort of in a watered down way that doesn't miss the point, to the executive team?
Well, one way, and I do want to mention, as far as something else they're not aware of, if you can utilize all the tools made available to you, whether there are some nice reports in your system or whether you augment it by using the denial manager, denial analytics in your clearinghouse, or you have, someone else that's actually really good with spreadsheets, ever how you have to do it, you need to get it down to a bottom number. Like, this is what we lost in timely filing. This is what, compared to this time last year, this is the revenue, and then be able to explain why. But if you show them, March, April, May, these 3 months, this is how much we charged, this is how much we got paid, this is the difference. Well, what do you do with that information? How is that relevant? How will that encourage change or drive behavior for the good? But the part that amazes me is, speaking of the denial manager, this fragmentation of the departments. The CFO is getting debited, it's seeing every month debited from the bank account, how much they're paying for statements every month, how much they're paying for claims. I know you get, like, for so many claims, it's this, but then you start going over that count, it's per claim. But I have asked RCM directors, tell me, how many statements do you run a month and how much is it costing you? Oh, we don't know. That just goes out, on the 15th of every month. The bill never comes to me. It goes to this other email and debited from the account. So when you ask the CFO, Well, how much are you paying for the denial module? They really need that. And, or, would they like to have that? What will it cost? What will you be willing to approve? That's when they say, well, we're already paying for it. What do you mean they need it? We've been paying for it for 3 years. No one's used it. I have had situations where I go into um, different analytical tools that they are paying for it and no one has used it
Mm.
because they either weren't trained properly or they were intimidated by it or they just don't understand it. So it's like, no, we'll just keep doing it the way we always have.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like the biggest sign of disconnect, right? You're paying for something that's never being used or you wish you could have, or it's rising and nobody's noticing because over here they think it's just the part of doing the work. It's just the way it is. That's what it costs. But really, you could be saving, 20, 30, 40% of that if you knew there's actually a problem over here. There's some mass leaking going on over here. So somebody needs to notice that it's going up.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So to drill in a little bit, we talked last time about the sort of human factor and the fact that you walk through the door and they're not that comfortable, they're afraid, they kind of don't want you to be there, and then you build trust and that changes
Mm-hmm.
everything. How do you repair relationships between the team members who are getting blamed for bad results and the executives who are upset about the bad results? Do you find yourself in that position too?
Very often. Yes. And you can't avoid giving them a lesson in RCM. They have to understand, at least at a high level, that really it starts down here. And I may be skipping to some frontline things, but you have to, the truth is always in the middle. Sure, the billing people could be doing these things better, but it's not all their fault. They can't help it that Dr. X is not closing his notes for 2 weeks. They
Hmm.
can't help it that the front line at location B are all new people and they don't understand how you determine which insurance is primary, which one is secondary, or they're doing a poor job of updating or verifying eligibility. You just have to explain all the moving parts without completely, you know, boring them to tears, but they have to understand that it's not one, everything's so interdependent. And, if you're not allowing them the the team members, like the number of people that they need, then every time somebody's out for a week, that person is just drowning, trying to
Hmm.
cover. And that's a constant. Again, the theme across all the client groups that I have been with, it's short staffness, you know, and the scrambling
Yeah.
of keeping up.
Yeah, that makes
It
total
really
sense.
is. So you just have to get them to realize that it's not just this department or it's not just the front line. It's not just because they're not using something. And it's not just because of the EHR system, which we're about to talk about.